family, welcome to today's spiritual talk. So in today's spiritual talk, I have the perfect theme after we completed a certain chapter of the spiritual book club. We went over today A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and the chapter that really resonated and the theme is gonna be what is spirit, because there's so much to talk about when it comes to spirit. That word is thrown and used around without really knowing the deep concept of what it means. So first of all, let me give you a brief channel's message as to what is spirit, and then I'm going to read to you a few excerpts from today's chapter that I highlighted, and then we'll see what else wants to come through. So spirit is basically this open space, this emptiness of our mind where the genius enters with his divine. And consciousness, spirit is consciousness, awareness. It's not the unconscious that's buried within, but rather the spirit is the consciousness, because it's consciously connected to the divine and always downloading messages. And so what is spirit as well? Spirit is holy. It's sacred, it's divine. It's one with the universe, and it's the spirit that we're all connected to, this oneness. Spirit is also our true self, that deep, deep person within that's hidden behind many layer after layers of our persona, our ego, and all these false masks that people wear. But the real spirit within is that soul. So your spirit is basically your soul body. And I talk a lot about this when I'm teaching about the different layers of the aura and the different layers of the chakras and the mind. And that's what we went over actually in class 1 of the Lightworker University. So if you want to learn deeper into that, and even the DNA strands, I really delved deep into a whole bunch of different themes in just class 1, which was like 3 hours long. And that's how every class every week is going to be, because I've been guided to make them more deep, intricate, and really connect to this ancient divine wisdom and knowledge that people need to know about as they progress on their spiritual journey, and as they become light workers on their mission full-heartedly. You need to know what you're working for. You need to know what you're standing up for and what you're living for. And that's the whole purpose of that program, the Lightworker University program. So back to that, what is spirit? Spirit is this pureness, this pure side of ourselves as well. Spirit is kind. Spirit is God within us, aka hence the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit is that which speaks to us, the divine guidance, our intuition, and it's what leads us towards our soul path, the true path that we're meant to walk on this earth. And the spirit basically is where we're all born from. We're all born from this spirit innately. Without the flesh, and when the flesh disintegrates, what's left? The spirit. And the spirit is also eternal. It's endless. It's unlimited. It's infinite. Because the spirit never dies. The flesh can die, but not the spirit. The spirit always lives. So the spirit is everlasting. The spirit is eternal. It's that one thing in the universe that we can call infinite. So that was deep. Okay, so now I want to really get into the book and just a few highlights that came through. And feel free to leave your comments down below on these videos of spiritual talks, because the whole purpose behind these spiritual talks is to make them interactive and to discuss a spiritual theme per video, per meetup basically. And I really do in the future want to make these live gatherings. So if you really like these, let me know so that we can begin to do them live. And any other themes that you're interested in talking about, also mention down below. And this is what we do every week in the Spiritual Counseling TV network. So if you're not part of that TV network, you're really missing out, because it's not your typical TV network. And that's something that we actually came across today. it's not the TV that numbs you and that basically zombies you out of your consciousness, which is your spirit. This spiritual counseling TV network actually fills up and nourishes your spirit. So it's a different kind of TV network. It's the modern version of a TV network that's spiritually guided. Okay, it's not mainstream media that devoids you of spirit and basically drains you of your life force and energy, but rather through these videos and all the ancient wisdom that we get, it actually gives you more life force, more energy, more longevity, vitality, and youthfulness, because you're connected with the divine, and hence you're more purposeful. So it's all educational, and that's the grand purpose why I began this project, the Spiritual Counseling TV Network. And I was guided to begin this project very early on, as soon as I launched my business last year. So you can just imagine how many videos are already there, okay? And I've been watching over some of the beginner ones that I used to record, and it's funny how really even younger I sound than I am. And it's just the way that spirit evolves you into this eventual master on their journey. And I really recommend it, because just like I learned through those videos, when I speak channeled messages, I speak from what I learned from everything that I learned in those books, that I taught, that I researched about together with you guys. So even rewatching those videos, you relearn it if you already know about it, and you get more divinely channeled information, because it's not like I'm just reading or doing research, but it's also extra. The angels have always been studying with me in these videos. They're always present. And guess what? Today we actually finished the Angel Therapy series learning about all the archangels. So that's very exciting, because I was so wanting to finish that book that we began last year, and I was guided to go really slow with that book. We went over like 20 different archangels. So you really want to make sure to learn about them if you're interested in calling them in your life and working with them in your life, in all that you do, whether it be your business, your spiritual mission, your project, which is your mission, your projects, your relationships, your love life, your health, anything, right? Calling your angels, and every archangel has a divine purpose. They have an innate talent. They each have their own specialty, and that's what I teach you, and how to call on them, etc. Okay, so that's all available as part of your Spiritual Counseling TV network. You get access to my entire School of Light library. So briefly, it includes the Spiritual Book Club, so tons of other books. You have the Mindset Talk shows, which are talks about evolutionary psychology themes. You have access to all the spiritual talks. Not all of them have been posted on YouTube, so there's even more there. You have access to my Cosmic Consciousness show, which that show is private for my group, because that's a lot of really deep stuff there. And you get some extra lectures that are usually for paid, but you get access to those for free for some of them. And for my programs, those are separate, of course. And there's other stuff there, obviously your daily, your weeklies, and your monthly astrological reviews, spiritual guidance, and teaching you how to live a higher vibrational life. And I give you extra speeches there. It's like very, very complete. Oh, and the Tantric Talks, right? How can we forget? Bringing the spirituality into the sexuality, and I'm sure you're all interested in that, right? Especially during these times when these lovers are locked up together. You want to make the most of it, right? So take a little bit of your time to learn about it, and then implement it in your life after. And yeah, I really recommend it. And make sure that you watch the Love Show this week. It was really hot, really, really good. Make sure to watch it this weekend and whenever you have time, because it's a really, really great entertainment show. So that's one of the entertainment shows that I have. All my other ones are more educational and spiritually based, but that entertainment show is with the spirituality blended in, so I never missed that part. But I was guided to make something extra fun for you guys. Okay, so let me read to you what I highlighted here in today's chapter. Today's chapter was actually called The Discovery of Inner Space, and this is the part that, well, maybe we should read this part about television. So when watching television, the tendency is for you to fall below thought, not rise above it, aka stripping you from this spirit, the consciousness. Television has this in common with alcohol and certain other drugs. And while it provides relief from your mind, you again pay a high price, loss of consciousness. And that's how we connect with everything, with the real purpose, our higher self, the divine, the reason for being here on earth. And how to live a high vibrational life comes through consciousness. So like drugs, it too has a strong addictive quality. You reach the remote control to switch off and instead find yourself going through all the channels. Half an hour later, you're still watching, still going through the channels. The off button is the only one your finger seems unable to press. You're still watching, usually not because anything of interest has caught your attention, but precisely because there is nothing of interest to watch. So once you are hooked, the more trivial, the more meaningless it is, the more addictive it becomes. And if it were interesting, thought-provoking, it would stimulate your mind into thinking for itself again, which is more conscious and therefore preferable to a TV-induced trance. Your attention would therefore no longer be totally held captive by the images on the screen. Now, I like that it mentioned to stimulate your mind. This is really good. Because we are currently in this Gemini energy, right? And we have a lot of energy now in Gemini. We have the North Node retrograde in Gemini, Venus retrograde in Gemini. We have Mercury in Gemini, which is in its home planet. And we also have the moon moving into Gemini this weekend. So all of these are very strong. And there's also squaring energy. We have Neptune and Pisces squaring Mercury in Gemini, which brings about more overthinking. But this is basically a need to stimulate our mind. We want to be stimulating, because if not, it gets boring, right? If it doesn't feed our spirit, we feel nothing. We feel out of alignment. We feel purposeless. We feel bored, right? And this has a lot to say about the people you associate with. How to feed your spirit, because what is the spirit? The spirit is also everything that we do in our life. It's everything. It makes up who we are, and it makes up how we interact and come off into the world, and how we fulfill our mission. Our spirit is behind it. Our spirit is kind of like that remote control, controlling our body, controlling our temple, controlling our mind. What thoughts are in your mind are ruled by your spirit. If your spirit is clean and pure, you're gonna have positive thoughts, and vice versa, right? And if it's out of alignment, then there is a need for cleansing of your aura. And that's how you stay in alignment with a clean spirit. And through mind stimulation, how can we feed the spirit? By learning this ancient wisdom, connecting to our ancient ancestors, connecting to divine information, sacred wisdom and knowledge. Sacred knowledge, and implementing it into our life so that it becomes our innate wisdom. That's how we get wise on this journey. When your spirit has matured. And a mature spirit is a leader in the Lightworker world. In the world in general, as a Lightworker, as a beacon of light, as a beacon of hope, as a spiritual teacher, you see, as a forte, as a rock to the people. So feed your spirit so that you can be that beacon of light, that warrior of light. Because a warrior of light, which is also another book that we talked about in my spiritual book club, has a strong spirit. So what exactly does this mean? How does a warrior of light have a strong spirit? When you have God as your main support system, your spirit becomes fortified. It becomes layered up with steel, okay? Hence the warrior of the light. You envision this army guy, right? You envision this angel, like Archangel Michael, with his sword and his shield and his armor on. Because you are a warrior of light, because you have a strong spirit within. So we don't gain strength from without, just from physical strength, or even from mental strength, because you can be mentally strong, you can be emotionally strong, and you can be physically strong, but it doesn't say anything about your spirit. Spiritual strength is completely different ballgame. It's a higher level of awareness, of connecting to the divine and truly trusting in the divine. And this requires ultimate surrender. And I believe that I did do another spiritual talk a few weeks ago called What is Surrender? So take a look at that video. I believe I'm wearing that kind of like sky blue jogger set. It was a very comfortable day, and I was talking about what is surrender, okay? And it's really relevant because through surrender, we connect to the divine, and hence we awaken our spirit. Because our spirit can also be asleep if you are asleep on your journey. So the spirit is very relevant to where you are at on your spiritual journey. Hence the spiritual awakening, right? And I believe we've spoken about that. What is the awakening? What is spiritual awakening? I do not believe we talked about that. So that will most likely be the next conversation. But that's actually a theme that I was also going to talk about in my Lightworker University for the next class, because that was part of the theme of truth and ascension. And going to this awakening of the spirit, which basically that's what it is. So as I was actually reading the other excerpt, I jumped onto this page when I saw awakening, and it's actually the next chapter, but I think that this sentence is important. Awakening is a shift in consciousness in which thinking and awareness separate. Hence, what is the spirit? The spirit is non-thinking. Because when you have too much mind chatter in your mind becomes occupied, and it's disturbed from receiving divine information and intelligence. So what is spirit? Spirit is non-thinking. Because this is my favorite model that I feel like, I don't remember even where I read it, but I say it so much that I'm gonna label it as mine because I always say it. It's something that I live by now. Through the emptiness of your mind, you allow the genius of the divine. Okay, so really grasp that. Through the emptiness of the mind, you allow the genius of the divine. So through the emptiness of the mind, which is what spirit is, you allow more spirit and divinity to come in. All right, so spirit is basically the emptiness of the mind, because when your mind is occupied with worldly matters and worries and concerns, you lose touch with the spirit, because the Holy Spirit will always reveal to you the truth, which is basically unseen. You will not be able to see it. You will only be able to feel it and to hear it. So you really need to pay close attention and listen very intently. Intently is the key word, because it's not just about hearing, which hearing, you just hear a sound and it can easily go from one ear out the other. But listening with intention, you're actually presently, all your attention is focused on that receiving mode of what the divine wants to tell you. And this is basically achieved through deep meditation, which is going to be a future topic as well, because that's something that I'm also bringing up in my Lightworker University. So I'll kind of bring up a short version in one of my spiritual talks. But through deep meditation, which is your emptiness of the mind, you allow the genius of the divine. And that's how you get in touch with your spirit. So that's really powerful, you see. Really, really powerful. And spirit is also living in alignment with your inner purpose as your foundation for fulfilling your outer purpose. How perfect is this? Because your inner purpose is to awaken. So this is kind of like symbolic to the south node and the north node concept, right? In astrology, we have the north node, which in our chart, in our natal chart, is what we aspire to be, what our fate is to become. Whereas our south node is the complete opposite spectrum, our karma, what we need to transcend out of. Basically, living from our ego. When we're unawakened, this is where we're at. So our spirit's inner purpose is to awaken out of that slumber, which is the sleepness and illusion that we're living in before we awaken. Awaken out of that slumber and discover your true inner purpose, so that this spirit can set out to do what it came here to do, which is to create a new earth together, right? In whatever way that means for your specific spirit, for your specific soul. Because really, spirit is one. Okay, we're all connected to the same spirit, because the spirit is the divine's. Okay, we have a spirit within us, but the way that I'm getting it right now, the way the angels are explaining it to me, is that we each have a different soul, right? Our soul journey, soul coaching, everything that I named soul, right? Soul growth. Everyone has a soul within our body, but the spirit is a different concept, yet it's similar but not quite the same. Because the spirit, if you see in religion, right, in the Bible, when you do your cross, it's in the name of the Father, the Mother, and the Holy Spirit. Because there's only one Father, there's only one Mother, and there's only one Holy Spirit. And this Holy Spirit we're all a part of, just like we're all a part of the Mother and the Father. And the Mother and the Father have been symbolically renamed in different ways. Like Father Sky rules the skies, whereas Mother Earth rules the earth, the nature. Father Sky is God the Divine, and Mother is the Virgin Mary, and the Spirit is Jesus, because he was the embodiment of God on earth as Christ, right? He was an anomaly. He was not just a human, and he was not just any spirit being. He was an enlightened being, a higher being. Even some legends say that he was from the star Sirius, where only enlightened beings come from. So it was said that Jesus Christ incarnated onto earth as an enlightened spirit to illuminate the path for the collective, aka the way. And Mary Magdalene, also a starseed from Sirius, came to join him as his spiritual partner. And she fulfilled and prolonged that legacy even after his death and his resurrection, you see. And why? Because they were following the Spirit. This same Spirit was living in them both, as every other enlightened being who was living at that time and in this moment right now. So this Spirit we're all connecting to. The Spirit is basically like the collective unconscious as well, that we're all connected to consciously. Okay, so I know it seems confusing, but the collective unconscious is actually a theme from the first year classes in my Lightworker University, right? But there is a difference between the consciousness, because the consciousness is basically awake, right? Like Freud discovered the 3 levels of our mind, right? We have the conscious awareness, we have the subconscious, and we have the unconscious. Okay, so there's 3 levels, and one of them is very surface, one of them is in between, and one of them is very deep. So the unconscious collective is these deep seated truths and fears and wounds from ancestral karma, and all that we're all connected to, basically the Akashic records that we do have access to in the subconscious when we innately remember. Only when we're awakened is the key word. But this we're all connected to. And the consciousness is only achievable when you're awakened, because you need to be awake to be conscious, right? It's kind of like when you're unconscious, you're in a coma, right? Symbolically, when you're spiritually asleep, you're spiritually in a coma. So when you awaken out of that deep coma, which who knows how long it was for each individual, right? You come to an aha moment and a revelation of the truth, which the Spirit illuminates to you, through you. You see? So the Spirit works through you. When you're really connected to the spiritual realms, the Spirit works through you. Okay? It's not like a physical body specifically, but it uses people, not uses, but more like it speaks through people to teach. And that's what these spiritual teachers do. That's how I'm giving you this information right now. Because to be honest, I'm learning this with you right now too. Okay, so like I kind of known this, but to verbalize it and even to deeply think about it this way is new for me too. That's why I like to do this with you guys, because by me teaching you more, I'm actually learning more as well. We're learning together, and Spirit's channeling even more. So this is very, miraculous right now, and it's very, what is that word? It's very like, I'm just very grateful, right? It's just very beautiful. It's very beautiful the way it's coming through right now. But that's what Spirit is, and Spirit is all around us. Spirit is in the angels as well. Spirit is the spiritual world. It is the spiritual realms, and it's unseen, so we can't visibly, tangibly grasp it or see it, but we can definitely live it, embody it, and feel it. And Spirit is also present in a spiritual love partnership. Spirit is this white light aura of love and harmony and peace and joy that we all seek and crave. As spiritual seekers, we are to seek the Spirit. And I feel like that's how I want to end it, because that's a really beautiful way to end it. A spiritual seeker seeks the Spirit. Now I just came up with that right now, so I'm going to quote it as mine. The spiritual seeker seeks the Spirit. So seek the Spirit by going within, meditate as much as you can, write, spiritually write, because Spirit comes a lot through spiritual writing. That's what's called spiritual writing. Speak as well, and listen to more of my videos on my Spiritual Counseling TV network. That's how you're going to connect to Spirit, truly. And this is all for us to share together. Okay, so I'm sharing everything that I've done for my own journey with you as well, because that's what Spirit's guided me to do. You see, what is Spirit? Spirit is God. It's the divine, right now, here, present. And Spirit is love. I really feel the loving energy right now. Spirit is angelic. Spirit is heavenly. Spirit is bliss. Because if you live through Spirit, you're going to live a blissful life. You're going to live a high vibrational and ultimate best life ever. So really do seek Spirit today. I really hope that you enjoyed today's spiritual talk, and let me know any questions that you might have. Comment down below, or go to my chat on my website where you can leave your questions in the discussion forum. I'm going to create a separate chat for the spiritual talks and all the themes, and also look at my my School of Light group, where I post the updates and extra posts that I do there in my groups, and let you know what I've been posting, because the School of Light library is only private for members of the Spiritual Counseling TV network, because that's the only way that I could put the pricing to access to all those different pages, because every page is a different category. I've really organized it nice and clear so that you can know and have clear, what playlist is what. So that's the only way that I could have done it. So you can't see the playlist, but I'm always posting there what I'm posting. And of course, there's a whole ton of other videos, like over 200 videos already there, and so much more good stuff. So thank you for joining me today, and I'm wishing you all an amazing and beautiful day. Namaste.